Welcome, Salimah. Welcome,
Thank you.
beautiful souls.
Thank you. And thank you. And welcome to everybody who is tuning into this important conversation. That's great.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
so good to have you, and it's so cool that you're open to be on the True Essence podcast and talk a little bit more about um, what you are doing. You're a yoga therapist. Would you like to share a little bit more with the beautiful souls who are listening about what
Yeah,
you're doing?
of course. But first I want to say we live in such an amazing era where through the power of technology, through Instagram, two people from different parts of the world, different walks of life can find a common language and encourage and support from far distance, but feeling still close and connected. So I think that's what I want to start with. I think there's some, as much as technology might interfere with parts of our lives, I think there are other pieces that bring us closer together. So, on that note, let's begin.
Wonderful.
Yeah, so I think it's a really great place to start. Actually, is to think about technology, and that is technology is anything that solves a problem. And so we were talking about social media just a minute ago, and I think about yoga also as a technology because the human experience needs solutions. We need ways to deal with stress, to comfort ourselves, to soothe ourselves, to um, the practicalities of engaging with other people, how to stay grounded and level. And then, then there is the bigger essence of who are we in the oneness and how do we connect to all that is. And to me, yoga, meditation, breath work, mantra, it is, those are the technologies that we can use one to one, one to one,
Mhm.
and one to one. So, so that's what I've come to understand about yoga and meditation now. And as a yoga therapist, yes, I do teach classes, and you can see all of my work on YouTube, YogaVision online. And a lot of what I do is help people make connections between how they feel, how their minds work, how their past overlaps, and to shape the future.
Wow.
Yeah, just, just a regular day.
Oh, you're helping a lot of people shaping their dream lives with your beautiful, beautiful voice and everything you bring into this existence.
Thank you. How sweet of you. How sweet of you to notice and then also feel a pull to connect.
Yes, I did. I was like, when I discovered you on Instagram, I was like, oh my God, just listening to you talking and sharing your wisdom and whatever you felt like sharing at this point in time made my nervous system calm down. It was like, oh, I can just listen to you and feel like I get a hug from the universe somehow.
Amazing. Thank you. Thank you for that. Thank you for sharing your experience. And, all of that comes from a lot of life experience. And I believe a desire we all have to connect, to listen to the truth. And everything you've heard me say so far has come from lived experience. And I must say, like, a lot of it was painful life experience. And I'm laughing because that's the cosmic joke, that we often learn through trials, through our challenges, through the places where we don't feel like we did the right thing. And and that creates wisdom. It just does.
So true. That is the perfect intro for my next question when we were talking about challenges. Because usually the first question I ask is, when did you hear the calling of the soul for the first time, or the calling of the heart? And what did it take you to listen to it, um, to that deeper voice that was guiding you on a path you were meant to go, if that makes
Mm,
sense?
yeah. Yeah, I mean, luckily I have a story. I remember being 4 years old, newly immigrating with my parents to Canada, and I was in the front yard, and I was playing with there were little frogs at the base of our house, little tiny frogs. And as I was playing with the frogs, there was a voice that came to me, and I heard it very distinctly, and I still do. It said, "Salima, if you want to grow, plant a seed,
Mm.
and that will turn into a tree." And it stayed with me. At 4 years old, I didn't know what that meant or how to make sense of it, but I felt it was quite directed, something that it wasn't anybody around me who was saying. We were all little kids at the time, but rather an inner wisdom that was coming through, a directive, a guidance. And, to be honest, I couldn't do much with that at 4 years old. And as I walk through life and I came across Kundalini Yoga, one of the ways to describe mantra is like a seed.
I'm
And it's incredible. And because when you chant a mantra, you are planting a seed, literally, a vibratory seed, a frequency. And it just all clicked into place. And to be honest, if you told me 15 years ago, this is what you'll be doing, and opening a yoga studio and running a business online and talking to somebody in Germany about it, I wouldn't have believed that. So it's not my person. This is not my personality. This was definitely my soul calling.
wow. And you
Mm.
listened.
And
Thankful.
I listen. Yes, yes, with a lot of uh, encouragement.
Yeah, you are brave for doing this and bringing yourself out there and helping all of these people heal and grow. Wow. So, Kundalini yoga clicked for you.
Yes.
Um, is there a definition, or do you have a maybe heart or soul definition for Kundalini yoga? You mentioned that it has to do with mantra. We're going to talk about mantras too, but is it mainly about working with mantras, or is there another definition you could phrase it?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a great question. And I think all of us who are involved in some kind of technology, some kind of modality, there's it's not just a technical thing, like this computer is a technical thing, but we have a relationship with that technical thing, right? Like I never, my phone is like within a few meters of me, it's never too far. And I feel that same affiliation. So the way that I would describe Kundalini yoga in my life is like it's my best friend. So it gives me a hug when I need it. It gives me a shove when I need it, and very much shaped how I want to approach my life and the world around me. And so the practice itself is an ancient spiritual tradition. It comes from India. It comes from generations of thought and movement and sound and devotion and mind oriented practices. And it has, number one, stood the test of time. Number two, offered very contemporary healing. Everywhere we go now, there's a lot of conversation about the nervous system, about dealing with stress and past trauma. And the good news is that all of yoga addresses those things, and Kundalini yoga is very prescriptive, meaning that, yes, it will treat the whole body and the whole system. And there are very specific practices you can do to adjust your brain, to open your heart, to strengthen your nervous system. And imagine the wisdom that's coming through thousands of years to say, okay, and we're still relevant now. In fact, more so. because there is a little bit of, I'm going to say this with a smile, right? A little bit of skepticism about modern medicine and Western priorities and how we as humans want to engage with the natural world. And so having something that is time tested and natural and self motivated is really powerful.
Yeah.
You know, I think we can all, feel a headache and take a pill, or we can feel the headache coming on and ask ourselves, have I drank enough water? What did I eat today? Did I sleep okay? What can I do to rest? And what other options are there?
Wow.
And we can breathe through it, and we can, find ways to do the remedy that is natural. And I think more and more, it's important to at least know that there are remedies instead of just reaching for the pills.
Yeah, that is so good to know, and they work when
And
we try.
yes, yes, and even better that they work, right? Yeah,
So that can work.
yeah, it's a great question. Um, yeah, what you got?
Amazing. Yeah, when we were talking about mantra, and there are these whole theories about the universe being a vibratory universe, just yeah, that the basis of the universe is just sound and vibration. And maybe we dive a little bit deeper into this mantra theme, and maybe you can share with us what a mantra is, or what you can tell us about mantras.
Okay, so mantra is, as you said, a sound vibration, and there are a few things that make it special. Number one is that it is usually in a sacred language, and Kundalini Yoga uses a language called Gurmukhi, which is the language of the Sikh faith. And that's the origin. So Kundalini Yoga is modeled loosely after Sikhism. It's not Sikhism, but it's modeled and uses the language tradition. So that's number one, is that Gurmukhi is a language not to be spoken one to one, but between one and the all. So, in other words, those sound vibrations are meant to communicate between us and the infinite.
Wow.
And sound does that because before there is matter, there is sound. Just like before there is words, there is thought frequency. So that's one aspect of it. The second one is that when we're talking, any language, but particularly these languages, Sanskrit, Gurmukhi, Arabic, Latin, these languages, any ancient tradition in this way, uses also the mouth, the human mouth. And we use our vocal cords. And as we're speaking, we're touching different points in the mouth. And this informs the entire body. So as I'm speaking to you, there's a phrase in English, your word is your wand. So as I speak, I create.
Wow.
And yeah, it's a very powerful idea, right? So as I'm speaking to you and we're speaking words to power about bringing people to a important message and self-regulating and doing the healing work, we are creating a vibration. And that's in English. So when we start to use sacred language, you can feel that the amplification, the power and the impact becomes very pointed, very specific, and also very vast. And I think that's also what brings me to love yoga, is how vast it is. Every time I have this kind of conversation, I think, wow, do we respect it enough? Are we, have we done enough? And anyway, but we're doing what we can do, so we're good.
Yeah, we're good. That's true.
Yeah.
Um, I I watched a lot of videos when you use different mantras and also different tapping techniques. I repeated, of course, and calmed my nervous system and my being down. How was it originally planted in Kundalini Yoga that you combine these two aspects with the tapping and the sound?
Hmm. I think a lot of wisdom traditions, particularly ancient, understood that there is a relationship between our human body, the sounds that we create, and the impact we can have.
Mm-hmm.
And the nervous system responds to touch and stillness and sound, and the universe responds to touch and stillness and sound. And so I don't think Kundalini Yoga can just take all of the credit for that, but it is definitely using that concept to help us advance. And it sounds like you're thinking about the meditation to ease childhood trauma. Is that the right one? Yeah. And do you remember the touch points? And we can do that together. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Nee. Mm-hmm.
It was on the nose. Yeah. Okay. So I'm going from memory now. It's sa, ta, na, ma. Sa, ta, na, ma. And I think actually now that I'm doing it, I think my physical memory is kicked in. Sa, ta, na, ma. Sa, ta, na, ma. Powerful, easy, simple. And what it does is it starts to create a relationship between these meridian points on our face, our brain, the sound, and it starts to loosen childhood memory. And what an amazing thing to be able to do, because not everybody can go to a therapist and talk about the past. Not everybody can come to a place where they want to do that, but almost everybody has the ability to turn on a video on YouTube and follow along and explore. And again, the technology of all of it is coming together at this time to help us.
So wonderful.
Actually, let's just do this. If you can add the notes, add that video link into the notes on this video, I think that would be great.
Of course, I will put all the links in the description box below, and especially
Amazing.
at one of the child healing, trauma
Yes.
healing, because there are a lot of wonderful videos you put on YouTube.
Thank you.
Wonderful. So I have another question I'm curious about. When we hear the word yoga, I don't know about all of you listening, but I had a specific practice in mind, or a specific style of movement. What is the difference between Kundalini yoga and other styles of yoga? And maybe is there a certain does it benefit certain people more to do Kundalini yoga, and other people are maybe more into doing the regular yoga, if one can say that?
Yeah. Yeah, interesting question. The way I answer this is, in Kundalini Yoga, the good news is that there's no downward dog. And the bad news is there's no downward dog. And depending on who you are and what your experience is, that will either make you very excited or very upset. And I think that's worthwhile exploring. And you're right, Janine, there's a lot of yoga, particularly on social media, that looks a very specific kind of way. It looks like you have to be very flexible. It looks like you have to be young. You have to already be fit. You have to have a certain kind of body. You have to look a certain way, and maybe you should only be 22 years old. And it is sadly a disservice to the essence of yoga. And what it does also is that people who fall outside of that seeming normal then feel like, oh, it's not for me.
Yeah, exactly. I resonate very much with what you said.
Yeah.
Um,
So, yeah. And, you can say the word yoga and then in a room and half of the people will get super excited and the other half will be like, well, I don't want to. No. And there's so many reasons for that. Particularly for women, we look at that and we say, that's not my body. I can't do that. And then we also have religious trauma. People have told me that's, anything outside of my culture is wrong or bad or related to something demonic or evil.
wow. Mm.
It's very real. And all of those things and everything in between puts a barrier between what might potentially be really good for me, my health, my spiritual experience, and my mind and my body. And I think it's important for everyone to give something a try, right? Because a big part of yoga and what we don't necessarily see on social media is breath work and focus and concentration and building capacity, building strength, building resilience. And that doesn't come automatically. Everybody has to work at it, including, those young people on, I'm not slagging young, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that portrayal may be detracting from the actual rigor involved.
Yes.
Would be because even an athletic practice requires a lot of focus and intention. It's not to be done lightly. And may I also say that it is much more challenging than it looks, even more challenging than it looks. So, where would we take this conversation? That is to say that all of us breathe, all of us. And when you learn how to breathe for the situation you're in, when you control your breath, you control your mind. When you control your mind, you control your life.
Wow.
And that's yoga, not all the stuff you see on the mat. I mean, that's part of it, but only a small part.
You just blew my mind with what you said. Oh my God. Amazing.
Just to be clear.
Yeah. So, so true. Wow. Okay. So I think that's clearing the picture for a lot of people. I guess
Mm-hmm.
for me, it did clear the picture a lot. And I heard that, yeah, you said everyone should give things a try, even if they think it's not for them, but maybe it is. You never
Yeah.
know. And at least you have to
Yeah. And I
try.
think that's where Kundalini Yoga becomes, in fact, really good for beginners because number one, you get exposure to breath work, meditation, focus, movement. You get access to all of that.
Yeah.
And in there's things that we particularly like and particularly feel connected to. Like you mentioned mantra, that sounds like something that you particularly love. And you get to do all of that. So that's number one. Number two, if you are a person who has limitations, in other words, you're not so flexible or something is
Mm.
hurting in your body, then why not try a practice that is not so focused on the physical? We do use physical movements, but it's not the kind where you have to support all your body weight or you have to go down on the floor and move in ways that feel uncomfortable to your knees or to your back. There are lots of different practices that are just about moving the arm.
That is very encouraging to hear.
Yeah. And we can create so much good effect without having to create injury.
Yeah. Oh, I'm so with that. Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, and, and another question I'm curious about. Maybe you can bring a little light on that or shine a little light on that topic. Um, I, I'm assuming that a lot of people heard the term already, the Kundalini energy, but how can we define this energy, or what is it? Where is it in our body, and how does it flow through our body, or does it just have a specific, I don't know, many people associate it with the feminine energy.
Mm.
Is it, what's it about with these
What is it all about? Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, so the word Kundalini refers to consciousness.
Wow.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And consciousness is that little, let's use an example. You're in an argument with somebody. And as a human being, we all have natural patterns of interacting when things start to get a little bit more heated or when there's conflict. Some of us go with our fists, some of us turn and run in the other direction, some of us freeze and we're not able to do anything.
Mm-hmm.
Consciousness is one part nervous system. So having a steadiness inside that allows us to see a little differently. And also mindfulness, which means, there's that pattern again. I'm just going to step over. I'm just going to watch myself and watch the other person instead of reacting. And in that little bit of space, we create a little more comfort for ourselves. Like, okay, someone's upset. I can handle that. Okay, you go ahead. And then I'm going to say what I feel. But we're not going to go the same way we've always gone, because now we're dancing differently. Now there's a little space. Now we're going to take a break and we're going to come back to it in an hour. Now we're going to talk about it, but we're going to journal first before we come and have a conversation, so that all the harsh stuff, the emotional stuff, is a little bit separated, so that we can have the actual conversation. Why are we disagreeing? Do we disagree, or is it just your tone or the word you chose? You see what I'm saying is that it becomes very valuable, especially when we're dealing with other human beings.
I think it's so important, especially what you just mentioned. It's so important, especially in these days, because I don't know about you, but I feel like things are heating up like crazy out there. I don't know. And I feel that we have to check in with ourselves and how we react to people and certain circumstances even more, and be even more conscious about it. And thank you for giving us this perspective. This was very helpful for me because I'm dealing with these topics in my life right now. So thank you very much.
Yeah, of course.
Dealing.
We are social beings, in other words, we're not meant to go and sort out our problems by ourselves and come back fixed. We are meant to have dynamics with people that actually teach us these things. And at the same time, not everybody in our life needs to deal with the raw piece of it. Sometimes we have to go and take care of that piece and then come back and sort out, the difference between the thing that's stressing us out and how we're responding to that stress.
So true.
Yeah. Yeah. One deep breath.
Yeah, one deep breath at a time, especially in heated situations. My God. Okay. So, do you have any like simple tricks, besides, of course, practicing Kundalini yoga or whatever we are practicing to calm our nervous systems and minds and connect to source, that can help us in our daily basis, besides taking that breath in that situation?
Yeah.
Is there anything?
Yeah, absolutely. Here is a very simple technique, and it can work in lots of different scenarios. Let's say, an email came in from somebody, you saw the name and you saw the subject line and you went, right? Because that happens a lot. Or we scrolling through social and we see something, we go, right? This feeling, or, I have a meeting in an hour and this is what's going to happen. So anytime you start to feel like energy is building, here is a very simple approach. So just put your hands up, and that's so that we can see each other. And then bring your thumb underneath your baby finger. Exactly. And then take a deep inhale and cover your fingers over your thumb. Good. Inhale very deeply and squeeze. Squeeze your thumbs as hard as you possibly can and hold your breath. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now blow the air out of your mouth and let go of your thumbs. Let go of your thumbs.
Oh.
Okay, we'll do that 2 more times to feel the full benefit. Okay, so wrapping your hands around your thumbs, inhale, squeeze, tense, hold. Now we're doing lots here. We're squeezing the thumb, which sends a signal to the brain that everything's okay. We're holding the breath, which is resetting the nervous system. And then we're going to let it go and let all that tension go at the same time. 3, 2, 1.
Oh, I can see it.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And then one more time. This is just to lock it all in. Inhale, squeeze, hold. Three, two, one, let it go. Good. Wiggle your fingers. Okay. How did that make you feel?
It released the tension I felt the whole day. It was just like, and doing it 3 times, yeah, did like release it all, as I would say. So my shoulders are
relaxed. Yeah. And oftentimes, you know, this is not surprising, is that oftentimes we're not even aware of how much, you know, how much we're holding or hiding or sheltering or protecting until we get to a tiny little practice like that. It takes less than 10 seconds, 30 seconds. And all of a sudden, oh, okay, you know, something clears, something feels better.
And it's that simple. It's just breathing.
Yeah. And it's yoga.
And it's yoga, yes.
Yeah, it's yoga. We didn't go anywhere near a mat. We didn't do anything fancy. We didn't go upside down. We didn't do any chanting. All we did was breathe and squeeze. That's it. And that's the basis of most of it, is what's your intention? What do you want to have happen? And what's the technique that will get you there?
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, it's quite straightforward in a way.
So, Salimah, besides your amazing YouTube channel, which hopefully everyone is checking out,
Yes.
they resonate.
YogaVision online. Yes.
You can find the links in the description box below. I link everything.
Yes.
And you give courses and single sessions. Would you share a little bit with us about your upcoming programs and
yes, I would love to. You want to know everything? Okay, great.
Yeah.
Check out yogavision.com. That's the place where all of everything that I'm going to say is right there. So yogavision.com. If you want to work one-to-one, I do something really interesting called numerology consults.
Ooh.
So we look at your date of birth, and your date of birth answers the 5 questions of life. Who am I? What am I here to learn? What are my gifts? What is my life purpose? And how do I transform? Okay. And when you have that kind of clarity, decision making becomes so much easier. There's that recurring pattern. Oh, this is what I'm really drawn to. This is who I am. Let me go do more of that. Or this is where all my life lessons are. This is where I resist the most. I got to do a little work here, you know? So once you have that understanding, it gets easier to be human. And not a perfect machine, but a human being with lots of nuance. So that's one. I love those because it's 60 minutes, 1-to-1. Number two is a new program I'm launching called Harmony Within. And this is specifically looking at Kundalini Yoga and the nervous system and how to use Kundalini Yoga to regulate the nervous system, to flow the nervous system. And the reason I came up with that is because on my YouTube channel, when you go there and you check it out, there are literally hundreds of practices. And for somebody relatively new or somebody who's going through trauma, that's a lot. That's a lot. And it's almost overwhelming. Like, what do I choose out of all? They all sound interesting. What do I do? So Harmony Within is a group experience. It's group mentoring. I teach live Kundalini yoga classes. We have a mentoring program in a part of that. And we have a WhatsApp group. So everybody can talk to each other and support each other. And I think community is the real teacher. You know, when I can talk to you, I live in Canada, you live in Germany, and we have lots in common, even though we've not met live. We are still human beings on this planet at this particular time. We have commonalities and we suffer similarly, and we have similar life challenges, and we're all going to get older, and we're all going to experience that. And why not have some support along the way?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So that's number two. Number three on my list is Kundalini Yoga teacher training. Cool. And that is a much deeper dive. You've done Kundalini Yoga for a little while. You found it beneficial. You want to learn more. How does it work? How do I use it to help my community? What don't I know? How do I use social media to get my point across? And what else? What else is there, like the history and the philosophy? And those things are very difficult to teach just on a video format. They need to be experienced in a community. So Kundalini Yoga teacher training, that's number three.
Wow, amazing that you do that.
Yeah.
Too.
It's been amazing. The whole thing has been, you know, from someone who didn't want to teach and didn't want to get here to this place. It's yeah, surprising and delightful and a labor of love and amazing.
Amazing. So anyone who's feeling this can get in touch with you if they feel like if it's a single session or a group session, or maybe they want to be a Kundalini yoga teacher like you. How amazing that you do that. Cool. Thank you so much for sharing, Salimah.
Most welcome. Thank you for the opportunity, for the really powerful questions, and for taking these ideas and helping to share. I really appreciate that.
Thank you so much. You're so amazing. Lots of love to you.
Thank you. And I'll see you on Instagram.
Yeah. Check out Salimah's Instagram. It's so cool. You get your daily dose of calm wisdom and universal hugs.
That's right. Thank you so much, everybody. Appreciate being here with you. And if you like what we're doing here, please make sure you share and subscribe and do all the things. YouTube is an incredible place to find people who are breaking new ground. Thank you, Janine, for your work.